Hey, it's Lisa Wimberger here. I'm the founder of Neurosculpting, and I have helped thousands of people learn really powerful tools to regulate their minds and their bodies, including pro athletes, entrepreneurs, and those with serious stress-based illnesses. So I'm really excited to help you do the very same thing through education and some incredible guest experts. And together, we're going to discover the formula to unlock hope. So welcome. Okay, hold on to your seats, everybody, because we're going to do a really high energy conversation with a dear friend of mine and inspiration, Devon Levesque, who is entrepreneur, philanthropist, fitness enthusiast, although I think enthusiast is an understatement, and someone really devoted to bringing positivity and wellness into the world, in addition to being a Guinness Book of World Records holder and really an inspiration to pretty much everyone who meets you. So, Devon, thank you for making time today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And your words are way too kind.
Oh, you're sweet. There's just so much that I want to talk to you about, but mostly where I want to go with this is your whole mission is to, well, I don't know if it's your actual mission, but what you do for people is you instill and evoke hope. And that's what I'm really all about in this world. So right out of the gate, when I met you, I felt so aligned with everything you do, even though I'm not, a fitness person to the extent that you and your milieu is. But I want to know, like, you seem so put together and you've got all this energy, but I know that underneath that is some suffering, some pain, some tragedy that has catapulted you into bringing your strengths to the world and uplifting people. So I would love for you to talk a little bit about how your particular suffering or tragedy, to whatever extent you want to talk about it, plays into how you lift people up.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I would say, you go through myself. I mean, I've been through tragedies my whole life, whether it's very small, where, from not winning a game, right, or to very big, right, where I would say the biggest tragedy in my life was my dad taking his life when I was 16, especially because he was my best friend and I was, really close with him. And so I mean, he was my coach. He was, my mentor. He was, my guy. And so I think losing someone really close is probably one of the most extreme tragedies you can go through. And that's from even speaking with my SEAL team friends, high performers, people that have done astonishing things in their lifetime. It always comes down to the fact of them losing someone, that's really close to them. And so
how do you keep that moment? I mean, you're 16. This is such a critical time for you to have your dad. How do you keep yourself from spiraling into, like, I don't know, drugs or depression, or how did you do that?
I think it's because I was always surrounded by health-oriented people. And, my father was very health-oriented. My mom was, my grandfather, my whole family. I mean, I was able to grow up in a house where we had a very big gym and outdoor, activities. And that was always kind of my go-to, working out or just staying healthy, or sports was a big thing, like physically, not mentally, but physically it was a great escape, and it was a good motivator, and I loved playing sports and competing. And so I think athletics and exercising was a good outlet for me to not spiral out of control. I was never into drugs or, when I was 16, I was never like smoking weed or, doing anything crazy. I definitely it was like an addictive thing for me. I was never interested. I was more interested in, going out and performing well in sports. I also was never I've always been like this, by the way, where I kind of just don't follow the rules. And it's not that it's the rules of following, it's more I kind of just have things in my mind that I want to do, and I'm going to do them, right?
Yeah.
And they're all for positivity. It's not, to ever hurt anyone or anything or cause issues. It's more just things I want to do, and um, so I think having things I want to do, being able to rely on health, sports, etc., has always been a great outlet. So I didn't spiral out of control, but I also ended up getting sent to military academy because I didn't follow the rules and I need more structure. So that also helped. But anyways, go ahead.
So I have a couple of questions. The first is you mentioned, physical exercise as, helping support your body.
Yeah.
What were you doing for your mind? I mean, that's a mind trip to lose your dad.
Yeah, definitely a mind trip. What was I doing for my mind? Nothing at the time, honestly. I didn't even know mental health was a thing.
Did you
I
ever
didn't.
feel like, oh no, my mental health is really suffering and I got to get a handle on this? Like, at
Um,
what point did that happen?
4 years ago. Yeah, I'm 30.
Wow.
When I was
Wow.
maybe when I was 26, I started seeing it, and others, my friends, people that were around me, started seeing it as well. That after 10 years, it started to impact me and I didn't know it was from, my dad. I didn't know it was from a tragedy. I kind of just went about my life. When I went to military academy, I think this was probably the most negative thing at military academy. However, there was so many positive things. Uh, but one of these guys, he was a Green Beret, and I first went to military academy. I was about 16 and a half, maybe 17, and I remember him coming up to me. He sat me down. This is, they just shaved my head. They take everything from you. You're basically in boot camp for the next 8 weeks. And, so I just got shipped away. I just got sent to this military academy. I just lost my father. I'm in a really weird state. And he sat down and he said, this happens to a lot of people. Just keep it to yourself. There's no need to really talk about it. You just have to move on and be strong about it. And so when I was 16, 17, I'm like, all right, I guess everyone goes through this shit. Everyone's dad commits suicide. Everyone, gets shipped to military. Everyone kind of goes through it. So I was kind of just thinking it was normal. And so for then on forward for 10 years, people would ask me about anything, but specifically tragedy or my father. And I would just be like, oh yeah, he passed away. And I'd move on. I would never talk about it. And that it definitely had an impact on myself, people that I was surrounded by, friends, etc. Where you kind of felt this barrier. You felt this person that's not reaching their full potential
Mm.
just because they're holding all these things in. And so when I did start talking about it, which we can get into now or later, but it drastically helped my life. Not
Yeah.
like I can't even. It's literally like my old self lifted up out of my body and left, and I was like a whole new human. It was literally, I remember it to the day. I remember where I was sitting. I was sitting on turf inside this gym with this guy Johnny, and I remember I was bawling my eyes out, and I really felt, I'm like, holy, whoa, this is what it feels like to be alive. And by simply just talking, by simply just answering some simple questions and a real conversation with myself on what the hell is going on, like take a step back, man. Like,
Well,
this.
it's more than just talking. So this pivotal moment, this is really what I wanted to get to because let me back up. People who see you, people who watch your Instagram, people who watch you, people who know you may find it difficult to ever perceive that you've gone through tragedy because you're so positive, you're so energized. And I love when we get to have our human side come out because I feel like it's the thing that threads us all together because we can all relate on some level to pain and suffering. And so for you, I interpret it as it was more than a conversation. It was some switch in you giving yourself permission to have really messy, painful feelings. And so you said it was like your old self lifted out of your body. What was the thing that just suddenly enabled you to start talking about it? What was that transition moment, or do you even know?
I think the transition moment was I was so driven when I was about 16, 17, probably since I had that talk with the Green Beret at Military Academy. Until that moment in time, I was so driven to get back the life that I had growing up. And, I had these goals in my head that, oh, if I bring all of this back into my life will be fixed.
Mm,
And Johnny, who I spoke to, said, why would you want to bring all these tragedies back into your life and replicate the exact life that you had before when that life gave you a tragedy and pain? And that clicked. And I'm like, you're right. What the fuck am I doing? Like,
wow.
wow, I need to step out of this. I need to open my brain a little bit. Why am I trying to recreate this life? And that just opened my brain. And so he started then helping me with what values to focus on, purpose. And we started having deeper conversations, for years on forward until now. I just spoke with him this morning. And that just opened my brain because it's not from grief perspective, and as humans, we thrive on comfortability, relationships. Sometimes people don't break up with their human just because, they're comfortable with them, but they're not seeing the full potential. So we're almost, there's this disguise with comfortability that we all have. And I'm guilty of it, of, well, I'd rather just feel comfortable, but sometimes it's okay. And you're not supposed to feel comfortable. I'm not supposed to go back to, the life I grew up and, the tragedies I've gone through. It's why am I trying to recreate that? Because it makes me feel comfortable. That's not right. Recreate something better, something more positive, something that fits my current life now. We all change. So why are you trying to go back in time and recreate something that's happened before? And I've heard a ton of people, I've spoken to a ton of people after I started raising awareness for suicide and mental health. And a lot of people try to recreate the life that they had before with their loved one. And sometimes this is not the right way to go about it. Sometimes you need to talk about it, figure it out, uh, and be open-minded into change. Change is good.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So
and change doesn't always happen. Change can't happen without just enough challenge to force you to evolve. And unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to look at it, pain and suffering is that catalyst, right? It is the catalyst to introduce something that causes us to have to change and evolve. And that's how we move forward. And I'm curious because you had that like brain wake up moment. I'm curious if you perceive you have more and more and more of those now that you've sort of let that first wake up moment happen. You said it's been like 4 years. What's transpired over the last 4 years that keeps your being on purpose and your brain open to change?
I would say since that conversation and even now, I define success as not having to change for anybody. If you're meeting the president of the United States, if you're meeting a person that's just getting started out, if you're meeting a billionaire, a homeless person, if you're meeting someone that's really in shape, someone that's out of shape, you can be the same person to
Mm,
everyone. And that's how I define success. You just can just be you all the time. Some
mhm.
people have work where they have to go in and they have to put on this face and they have to smile and they have to be all energetic, but then they go home and they're miserable. And so if you can stay consistent throughout those 24 hours, I define that as success. And so I always think about that. And it goes down to talking, right? And so I'm constantly just thinking about just being me, you
Mhm.
know? So the more I'm me, I'm just talking about things I've gone through, right? And so, yes, I think since that conversation, I've allowed to just be me more. And it's okay to be vulnerable and it's okay to everyone, people go through things. and they should be talked about. And there are people that need help, and there are people that need to hear things. And there are things that you're supposed to speak out into the world. And so from that moment on, to go back to your question, and me wanting to be just me all the time, yeah, it forces me to just not really think about what I'm saying. Some people will go against it. Some people will say, okay, I really just don't think too much on what I'm saying. It kind of I go with the flow on how I'm feeling, what I've gone through. Things change. I mean, I just got back from Antarctica. Before that, I was in Qatar at the World Cup. And, before that, I'm, in another city. And, I took 110 flights last year. Like, that's a lot of learning. That's a lot of me just learning new things around the world, people, communities, culture, marketing, business, philanthropy. That's a lot of things. And so what I'm saying now is exactly what I'm supposed to be saying in this moment of time. So why am I trying to overthink it and try to say things that I learned in college 10 years ago? It doesn't make sense. I'm constantly learning. You're constantly sharpening. You're constantly, figuring out new things. So just go with the flow. Go with what you know now. You don't have to overthink it. And by the way, overthinking it kind of wastes time. And I talk a lot about time, because time is really all we have. That's it. Time's going away right now. We're on the phone. We're chatting. I'm taking your time, right? Which I appreciate. And time is so valuable. So why are we overthinking things? Just go and do it. Just act, go with the flow. Once you get in this flow of life of just being you, you can really, you can maximize your time to the full potential.
Amen. I was just having this conversation yesterday with my husband. Time is the only currency we have. That's it. Everything else is made up, because it's the finite currency. It's the only one that means anything, because it's the only one we can't get back. We can lose all our money and make it back. We can lose all our friends, get new ones. We can lose our job, get another one. We cannot get time back. And here you are validating that, right? It is a finite currency that means more than anything. And anyone who's lost anybody also knows that is the true value. So I perceive you to be channeling and integrating in all moments, so that you keep showing up as your new self, and then your new self based on what you just experienced, and then your new self again. I'm curious what your relationship to hopelessness is. Do you still or ever get hopeless? And what do you reach for when you go there?
Hopelessness. No, I don't really ever encounter hopelessness.
Did you ever?
Oh, man, that's a really, really good question. I didn't see that on the question list, Lisa. No.
Because I'm going with the flow, Devon.
I like it. I'm kidding. I honestly glanced the question list that all podcast people send over, and I'm kind of just like, we're never rocking. Anyways, hopelessness. When have I just had an open mind? When did that start is basically the question. I think when I started traveling. I've always been pretty open-minded, but once I started traveling more, everywhere, Africa, South America, Asia, Antarctica, everywhere in the world, right? All around the US. And you start meeting people. What it does is it's really it's kind of a life hack to travel, because it's not just going to see things. You're learning so much, and you start to realize there is a solution for everything. There really is. God forbid, everything materialistic I have right now, I lose. I have no problem whatsoever starting over. I'm not stressed about it. I don't really care. As long as I have my friends, my health, my family, I'm good. Besides that, it's like I'm not afraid of starting over. But it did start when I started traveling, because you start to see these cultures, and they are so fucking happy. I mean, they're really happy in their current situation. And you would look at them now like, holy shit, they have to walk 10 hours a day to go get water. How are they still smiling? How are they still just playing a game with a stick? Oh my God, there's cartel running around killing so-and-so and stealing this, and they're still happy. What the heck? Oh my God, Asia, super polluted. I mean, you can barely breathe outside. some of these people still happy, right? And so why are they happy? What are they valuing? They're valuing community. They're valuing family, right? They're valuing their culture. And I think if you can keep your reputation, your family, your friends, your community at the top, you're going to develop zero hopelessness, because there's hope when you have people supporting you, and there is a solution. When I fail, and I fail a lot, I have a million ways where we're going to come back. It's constantly going through my head, whether it's a new market, whether it's bringing in new people, whether it's trying a different SKU item. There's a million options to not fail. And so once you start realizing, like, you almost expect to fail, but then you start figuring out plan A, B, C, D, all the way to Z, hopelessness really isn't in there. There is hope. There is an opportunity, for that specific area to succeed.
I feel like,
traveling, I think, opens your brain into less hopelessness, to be honest.
I feel like you're equating hope to problem solving and solutions and community, which then makes so much sense when I look at what you're building, right? So, okay, for those of you listening, Devon, you have your hands in so many companies, it's ridiculous. And all of them are connected to creating and building community on some level. I'm watching what you do, and it's really interesting because you recently did an Instagram post where you're putting the names of the companies that you're affiliated with at Cedar Trunk Ranch. You're putting those names like on the court and on the walls, and I'm looking at this going, it doesn't stop. There's just so many companies, but all of them are collaborating in the communities you're building. And so what I see you do, which I find so hopeful and so a commodity we need more of in the world, is that business is not just for business. Business is to build community, and everything you do, whether you know it or not, is supporting that. You are so aligned in the creation that comes out of you. That everything you do translates to community. And I really don't think I've witnessed that before, to that level where you're just you're like this hub, and everything that satellites around you is pulled into this core value, which is people and community. So I'm curious to know where you see, how do I say this? I feel like there are pains in the world right now, fractures and divides. How do you see how you view community as a way forward to ripple out beyond you? Like, what's the role of community in the healing of commerce, politics, the world, mental health?
Yep. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I have a reason I like scaling companies. I have a reason I like to make money, but it might be different than why other people like to make money. I like to make money because then I can give back more and I can bring more people together. That's genuinely my only reason I want to make money. I'm not a big car guy. I'm not a big sneaker guy. I'm not, it's not really relevant to me, to be honest. It's more, how can I bring as many people together as possible and give back to them, and hopefully allow them to wake up with little to no stress, happy, less anxiety, and just excited to go and do some fun things, and hopefully promote them to go explore. And so building companies enables me to do that. You make money, you bring them together, right? That's why I want to do it. And I think that alone can help fix a lot of things where people don't have to be so money hungry. And I'm saying money is because it equates to success for majority of humans. And it's really not, it doesn't really mean anything, I don't think, besides, unless you're using it for a great purpose. So that's a big reason I do what I do. From a community standpoint, you can always lean on your community. Always, community is so powerful. having people around you that can check you, that can help you. This world is supposed to be doing things together, not apart. That's why I'm against diets, by the way, because diets just separate people. Food
And
brings people together. I love food, and in no way do I support diets. Diets are temporary. Imagine like going to a dinner and like you have this amazing feast in Africa or South America or any of these countries that are a little bit more indigenous to us in America, and you go down and they prepare this amazing meal, and you're like, no, I'm on a diet, I can't have this. Your brain is like this tiny. It's just so narrow-minded to think like that, regardless of what health goals you have. It's like food brings people together. I do anything to bring people together. I love bringing people together because conversations start. There's nothing that makes me happier than when two people come together that I've connected and they go and do something extraordinary. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I get amped up. That's my juice. That's espresso shots for me. And so I think community fixes a lot of things. It provides you a soundboard. A lot of people keep their thoughts, like I mentioned at the beginning. You keep your thoughts built up. Community fixes that because you have people to express ideas. People that are super creative, go express your ideas to someone. Go speak it out into the world. Go say it. Get that idea going. Get some other people's perspective, right? And then the community that you're building, they, whatever it is, I think communities help provide good positivity into your life that we all need. I don't watch the news. No way. I don't think I've ever really watched the news.
yeah.
I think I've definitely watched it before, but it's always negative. There's like things going on. I'm like, I don't need any part of this.
Yeah.
I try to stay as positive as possible and have everything that's in my life positive. I mean, and this is a really stupid example, but I mean, it's down to one of my dogs. I got the dog and he's a Presa Canario, and people are like, oh my God, he's such a vicious dog. Like, you better watch out when he grows up, all these things. I'm like, watch. I'm a pretty positive human. All my dogs are positive. Everyone that comes over my house is positive. Like, everyone's happy. We're, trying to do the right things. This is the happiest dog alive. He's never bit anyone. He's a very friendly dog to humans,
Yeah.
but you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So friendly.
I
And
feel I
it's like, it just, I don't know. I know it's a stupid example, but it's like, if you just pour positivity in someone's life, they're going to change. They're going to sponge it up somehow. They're going to, I mean, there's no way around it.
I feel like that is very evident in your weekends that you run, for sure. I mean, there are relationships that come out of those weekends that are lasting. And that's happening because you're creating a container for community, a super positive container for community, relational activities, fun, and food. And I feel like you might be an Italian mom trapped in a man's body because you love to bring people together over food. And I think maybe that's why I resonate so much with you, because that's what my mom always did. She was like, sit down, eat. Everything's better after you eat. We're going to sit, we're going to talk. And she made everything with love. And so she was a community creator as well, which I feel like is the medicine of our future. I feel like we've spent so much time information gathering, technology evolving, business innovating, and now it's time to give all that legs. And the only way those things have legs is if we have a community to fall back on. So I get super inspired by you all the time. I'm curious as we close up if there are people listening out there who feel like, well, I can't be that positive because X, Y, and Z. What can you give someone who just doesn't see the silver lining right now that maybe can help them?
I would say, if you're on a low budget and you're just really in a bad spot and you're depressed and you just don't see the grass on the greener side, try to explore your current town, try to explore your current city, push off across to the next state, maybe the next country. Try to push your boundaries, because most of us live in this boundary of living at home, and we were brought up there and we've never left our hometown and we're stuck there. And even some people that have moved out of their hometown, they move to a new area and then that's their new home and they stay in this area. The more that you can expand your brain on what's out into the world, it'll give you ideas of how to get out of your current rut. And that could be as simple as, you know, going and exploring out and, oh my God, that's an opportunity for a new job or a new career path, or that's a cool community at this local coffee shop or this random gym. The more you explore, I always use this analogy, like, don't go to the same coffee shop every day. Try a new coffee shop every day. Start one conversation with a random person, you know, thank and apologize to someone every day. Keep opening your brain and you'll figure out a way. And that's the beauty of it. Look at it as a game. This is a game of Tetris. Okay, what's going to work? What isn't? When I'm in a rut, how am I going to get out of this situation? Embrace it. Fail forward. And so expand your brain into what's out there, and don't get so consumed in your family, in your current friends, and who's in your community. And if that's where you're feeling the most depressed, separate yourself. Love from afar. And it can really help expand to what's out there and give you some new ideas, you know, of what to do. And you can do all this on little to no budget. I've seen friends that have zero job. They don't have any family support. They don't have anything. And they've traveled across the country, right? It is possible. It's very possible. And they're some of the best humans I've ever met. Someone that has literally traveled from one side of the United States to the other, have an unbelievable brain. They have seen so many things. They have different perspectives on it. They're respectable. They're just so open-minded. I love being around those people because it's not, you don't have to flex with a car or shoes or this or that. I have the Chanel bag. It's like, they don't give a fuck. Yeah. They just want some real humans that they can talk to and do some cool shit with and laugh a little bit and hang out. Like, those are the people that you need to surround yourself with, I think.
I love that. I love that. I'm in 1,000% agreement. So what I like to do at the end of all these is just go through a list of the things I'm taking home with me so I can chew on these. These are the nuggets.
I love that you do this, by the way. Because yeah, you've done it at a couple, when we spoke at Summit together. Yeah. It's something within the brain that, okay, we're getting fed all this information, but if we don't repeat it to ourselves, then there's a stat. It's like you're 80% not going to digest it or something high.
Exactly. So here's what I'm digesting, and I'm encouraging everyone listening to go through this and write down the nuggets so you can digest them, because that's how we change. Like, this conversation, this relationship has just changed me, and I want to not take that for granted. So these are the nuggets. Time is a finite and very potent currency, and I want to respect that. The second thing was to just give yourself permission to be you and sort of just be in the flow. The third thing was traveling is learning. And the more you step out of your boundaries, the more you're going to learn. The fourth one was that there's a solution for everything. The fifth was that your values are defining your happiness. The sixth was that food brings people together. And the seventh was fail forward. And so I am putting those on my week's calendar so that I look at one of those a day and see how that shows up in my life. And as always, I get all motivated every time I talk to you. And I'm just excited to see what comes out of my own motivation based on this conversation, which is a moment of micro community that inevitably just already changed me. So
awesome.
Thank you.
I love it. I like those 7 were great. I didn't realize I said all those things.
You said more, but I only wrote those down.
Now that I said them, I said, oh shoot, I did say that. See, I was just going with the flow. I didn't think before I talk. I'm just kind of going. It's great.
Yeah. You're like, damn, I'm really smart. This is amazing. Devon, thank you so much for your time. And I can't wait for more.
Yeah, anytime. Happy to be here. Thanks for your time today.
Yes. Thanks for listening to Unlock Hope. If you'd like to follow us on social media, we're at Neurosculpting Institute on Facebook, at Neurosculpting on Instagram. You can always reach out to us on our website, neurosculpting.com. and you can download our app, Neuropraxis. Stay well, everybody.